You're watching Hot Wok Academy. My name is Mingjin Tong. Today we are making sweet and spicy crispy fried chicken. Now, you may think of this as Korean fried chicken, but I'll be very honest. I don't really know what makes Korean fried chicken Korean fried chicken. I've seen so many variations, so let's call this sweet and spicy crispy fried chicken. I hope you enjoy it. For our ingredients today, of course, we'll be starting with chicken wings. I've got here 4 whole wings. We'll talk about breaking down. We've got salt. This is hard cider. With our hard cider, we're actually going to be using this to make our deep fry batter or deep fry slurry with this product today. Also, we're going to use 2 different kinds of flours. This is Tapioca Starch, and the other one we're using is going to be our rice flour. Now, don't get the green one. That's the glutinous rice flour. It won't react or behave in the same way. For our topping, we're gonna mix simply these 2 items together. This is just agave, which is a great sweetener, and it's got a nice thinness to it, much thinner than honey. And we're gonna use Korean gochujang. So this is a fermented, semi-sweet, not too spicy, even though the image says so hot. It's actually not very hot. Just a fantastic, very fragrant, very flavorful chili sauce that we'll do as our topping. Okay, let's go and get started. What we're gonna do is for each wing, the wing has essentially 3 parts to it, okay? So it's very important to learn these parts. This part here is what we call the drummy. We're gonna separate the drummy from this part here that we call the flat, and we're gonna separate the flat from the part that we call the wing tip. And what's nice is you don't cut through bone when you're taking a chicken apart. What you do is you are actually cutting through the different joints. So in order to find the joint, you can actually do like I'm doing. You can move the wing and the wing will help you to identify where the joint is. So I can see that there's motion right here for the tip. That means that the joint is right here. And if I just bring my knife through, I could find the joint and go right through the joint. Okay? And you're not fighting with the bone, you're cutting right through that cartilage. To find the next piece, again, you just want to find where that motion is, and right where it connects, you want to put your knife right through, and you'll go right through that joint. You don't cut the bone. Cutting the bone will be difficult, but cutting the joint is quite simple. So we'll have the flat removed from the drummy. I'll show you one more time. We're going to find the joint here for the tip and go right through that tip. Then we'll find the joint here to separate the drum from the flat. Right about there. Okay, cut through that joint. Okay, now that I've got all the pieces ready, I'm actually not going to stir fry the tips, or I'm not going to deep fry the tips. And the reason why is because the tip is so full of bone, it's gonna be hard to eat like a piece of fried chicken. So you can, if you want, before our cook today, I'm gonna leave those tips to the side. What you can do with these is you can roast them off until they're crispy, throw them in some water, boil them off, and make a nice stock. So for these flats and the drummies, I'll take a little bit of salt, and I just want to get that salted down. I don't want to add a lot of salt, but that's all the salt we're really going to have for this particular dish. After that, let's go ahead and mix it around, make sure it's evenly coated. And we can set that off to the side. Let me give my hands a quick wash. The next thing we want to do is we want to make up 2 bowls. When you're deep frying, you can always think of wet, dry, wet. That is really the way that these, the coatings or the batters get built up on deep fry. So if something is wet, like our chicken is kind of moist, of course, then the next element you want to add is a dryness. So what we'll do is we'll do 1 part tapioca starch. I'll do half a bag there. And then we will do 1 part of the rice flour. All right, got a little spill there. You're gonna go ahead and mix that together. And what you wanna do, after your chicken has had some time to sit and salt, you could actually introduce all of those pieces right in to that dry mix, just like this. And from here, you just wanna coat it really, really well. And what's gonna happen is that the moisture on the chicken is gonna pick up all of that dust, and it will make it very nice and easy to work with, because the next step is gonna be getting it in the slurry. So I'll take these dusted pieces, and we could put the dusted pieces into my second bowl. And just because they're gonna sit there for just a minute, I might take some more of that dust and just add it on top to make sure that it stays nice and dry. So this is the first part where your chicken is in that dust and it's gonna be ready to be battered in your slurry. So to make your slurry, it's quite simple. You do wanna use your hand, and the most tricky part about this particular recipe is getting the slurry consistency just to exactly where you want it to be. So with I've got about a cup of the rice and tapioca mixture, and this is my hard cider. Now, hard cider gives us 3 benefits. Number 1, of course, hard cider is a liquid, which helps to create that slurry. Number 2, it does have a sugar content, and that sugar content is gonna brown very nicely in the deep fry oil, so it gives us a nice deep color. And number 3, because of the alcohol content, it evaporates faster than water, which again is very, very helpful for when we are deep frying. We want there to be a fast evaporation. Once you've got your cider and your dust ready, what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna add just a little bit, because you can always adjust with more liquid later or more dust in later. But for now, what you want to do is you actually want to create a slurry that has the consistency of a high quality paint. That's what I always tell everyone. A high quality paint is what you're going for. So right now, you know, I think my kids actually play with this. They call it oobleck, right? They kind of this non-Newtonian fluid. You can kind of see how it's kind of a goop there. So right now that's not enough liquid. I'm going to go ahead and add some more. And we'll keep mixing that until, again, the consistency I'm going for is a high quality household, kind of a latexy paint. And that's when you know it's gonna be ready to fry. Okay, so if we look at this, let's see what I'm dealing with here. So that actually is too thin. I went too far with the cider, which I'm glad I did, frankly, because I can show you how to correct that, okay? So I'm gonna go back a little bit now. I'm gonna make it a little bit thicker with some more rice flour and a little bit more of that tapioca starch. Just to thicken that back up. The thickness, the consistency of your slurry is very, very important. If you don't get it right, the batter and the fry will not come out correctly. All right, keep mixing. Again, with your hand is absolutely the best. It's better than any tool because you're able to feel for any lumps and you're able to make sure that the consistency is absolutely perfect for a deep fry. Okay, that's looking a lot better to me. So let me lift some up and so you can see it. Now that is a high quality paint consistency that we're looking for. So we are ready to go ahead and put our dusted chicken wings into the slurry for our deep fry. For our sauce at the end, this is what we want to do. We're going to take some of this gochujang, and we're going to take a big amount here. That's probably about half a cup. And then we're also going to take some of this liquid agave, And what we're gonna do is we're gonna add it in, and not only for the flavor, but also for the consistency. Because this is very nice and thin and the gochujang is very thick. Let's go ahead and mix that together. And when I have a nice thin consistency to it, I know it'll be good enough to go on and coat that chicken entirely. I'll add just a little bit more and we'll be ready to go. Give it a good mix and let's see what it looks like. So this consistency is gonna be great. It'll coat our chicken just fine. And then at the very end, we will top it with some sesame seeds. Let's go ahead and get frying. After you've got your flats and your drums dusted and you've got your slurry made, what you wanna do is you wanna set yourself up for deep fry. Now, you can deep fry at home. It's not scary. It might take a little bit to learn, but this is what we're here teaching you to do it, okay? So first thing to note is that I've got a low, wide pot. Now I like that because it gives room for the chicken to be able to move around, and it gives me a good line of sight. So don't use a deep pot. You can't really look into it too well. Also, I'm deep frying today with canola oil, and I've got a thermometer. So this thermometer is something that I keep on hand all the time, especially when I'm deep frying, because I need to know what is the temperature of my oil. So right now, it's reading at 366 degrees, which is just fine. You want to deep fry at about 350 degrees, and we are going to be doing a double fry. When I put my chicken in, the temperature of the oil is going to drop, and to fight that, I'm going to crank my heat up a little bit higher, okay? So for now, one thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and re-agitate that slurry, because it does settle quite a bit, and I can actually feel it on the bottom, just kind of grinding the thick starch back in and get it suspended in the liquid. And when I have it ready, so there is my consistency, and you can actually tell how nicely it's coating my fingers. That coat is the same coat that we want to have on our chicken. So I'm only going to do 4 pieces at one time. So I'll do 2 flats. And I'll do 2 drums. And I'm actually gonna just do 4 at a time, but as I get it in, I'm gonna do all 8. So this part's a little bit tricky. You don't wanna move it too fast. With this kind of a slurry, what's gonna happen is it will peel away if you move too quickly. But if you don't, look at how nicely it coats, and you want a nice even coat all the way around. I've got a little dry spot there, so I'll dip it back in. And right from here, you can go ahead and introduce it into that hot oil. As soon as I got chicken in, I'm gonna crank my heat back to high so I don't go below 350 degrees. There's the second piece here. Now your chicken will stick together in the pot, but it's okay. The slurry sometimes will stick to itself. You could just let it go, and about 1 or 2 minutes in, you can break it apart with your tongs. It won't cause a problem. All right, here's that last piece. And let's get that in. And we'll do the last 4 pieces as well. All right, again, get it coated. If I see any spots that are dry, I like to dip it back in the slurry to make sure it has a nice coating. You don't want to put too much oil in your pot. You don't actually want to put more than halfway full, because the oil could spill over the side of the pot if you add too much product in there. And here's our last one. You don't want to put your wings in that are dusted in too early, because that dust will actually lose its ability to stick the slurry to your chicken. So only do a little bit at a time. Let me rinse my hands. Okay, from here, I've got my heat on high because I want my oil to stay at about 350 degrees, and I want to make sure, so you see how it's sticking together? Not a problem. I'm going to keep it in there and just kind of move it around to break up that adhesion. And I want to make sure every single piece is separated and not stuck together. Let's do a quick temperature check. I've got my oil at about 314 degrees. Again, that is a little bit too low, but at this point, I could increase the heat by moving it to a higher power burner, but also know that I'm gonna be double frying, which means after we do the initial fry, what's happening is that the slurry is crisping up and there is an impenetrable barrier between the oil and the chicken. So the crisp is actually forming a shell around the chicken. What's happening on the inside of that shell is that there's actually steam cooking going on. The moisture inside the chicken is cooking that chicken, and the oil on the outside is crisping up that shell. So we'll let that go. And for these wings, you want to fry them at 300 degrees until they are golden brown, and it'll be about an 8-minute fry time. Okay, as your chicken continues to cook, one thing you want to do is you want to check the internal temperature. So you can't really tell if it's done or what's happening inside if you don't check, okay? So what I want to do is I want to find a very fat piece, and I'm going to go ahead and poke it right in. And what you don't want to do, you don't want to hit the bone. If you hit the bone, you're going to get a misreading on the temp. And oh man, that is it's so crispy, I can't even get in. I'm not acting here. Okay, I'm in, all right. Let's see, yep, I'm all the way up to temp. I'm at actually 194. These are gonna be plenty, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull all my chicken out, and I wanna let my temperature continue to rise in the oil, and I wanna do a double fry, which means I'm gonna bring my oil all the way up to 395 degrees, just under 400. And I wanna do that because I want to double fry this chicken so that the outside crust becomes very, very crispy. Last two pieces here. And that is the nice golden color that you're looking for right there. All right, let me remove just some of these so they don't burn. I've got my oil still on high temp. And let's check the temperature. Temperature of the oil. We got to get it up to 395. It's at 350 now. So we'll keep raising it. So we're at 398. I'm gonna go ahead and put these in. And for this second fry, it's just a real fast fry. We're gonna reintroduce all of that chicken, and we're gonna let it do its thing, get real crispy, and we're gonna pull it all out, all in under 1 minute. Okay, what's happening now is any residual moisture that's in the crisp is now being evaporated out. That's what you hear right now. All of that is moisture that is leaving the crust. Let's go ahead and start pulling them out because they will burn at this temperature. All right. Once all these pieces are out, what we want to do is we want to let them rest a little bit. Because the temperature is so high, the sauce is going to have a little bit of trouble sticking on. So we're just going to let them sit for just about a minute, and we'll let them actually drain out here on I've got a wire rack, but here what we'll do is we're going to go ahead and put all these pieces right into our mixing bowl. And this is the mixing bowl that we will do for the sauce. We want to have a mixing bowl that's big and able to have high walls so that when we pour the sauce in and we toss it, we're not making a big mess, okay? So here we'll take our gochujang and agave sauce, and we're gonna pour that very liberally over our chicken. And let's go ahead and give that just a nice mix and a nice toss. I want it evenly coated. All right, so there is our chicken, and let's go ahead and set these pieces out. And we'll get some sesame seeds. And we're ready to, oh, look at that. All right. I hope you've enjoyed cooking along with us, and I hope you enjoy your spicy, sweet, and very crispy chicken. Thanks for watching.